So at this point, I'd like to hand it over to Chris to begin our presentation.
Thank you very much. All right. Out of curiosity, while we get the slides set up, just give me a benchmark in terms of where people are in their experience. How many of you are like line of business folks, business professionals, managers, etc.? Okay. How many of you are coders, like hardcore coders, developers? Okay. For those of you who are using artificial, how many of you are currently using AI in a production capacity right now? Okay, a few of you. For fun, just out of curiosity, how do you folks like to talk about AI? How do you define it? Want to throw out a quick definition?
In our case, we use Salesforce and AWS.
Okay.
Pretty much as a way to predict behavior. I work for...
Oh, it just be the definition of
the
AI,
definition.
how you define it.
Pretty much a digitized version of human intelligence.
Okay. Similar? Okay. Probably the funniest definition I've heard is that if it's on a PowerPoint, it's AI. If it's code, it's machine learning. All right, so today we're going to talk briefly about the journey to AI and what, especially for those of you who are developers and tech folks, the kinds of things that your stakeholders will be asking you about. So walking through this journey to AI, and then I'll share a few experiences of stuff that I've screwed up. So the beginning of the AI journey for almost every company, every organization, every project is going to be that data foundation. Almost all AI projects die here first. And that is because nobody can find, clean, prepare, and unify their data sources. Whether it is somebody just who wants to know, how do I get more likes on Instagram and can't figure out how to use Instagram's data export, to the largest enterprises who have literally 5 copies of like Salesforce.com and nobody knows who's in charge of anything. So this is the first and hardest part of working with AI, working with machine learning. And if you're lucky, hopefully somewhere in your company, there is a data steward who can help you identify the data, fix it, and get it in good working condition. The second step in the journey, and this is for all companies, is helping a company become data-driven, which means they actually use data to make decisions. One of the most difficult things that we've seen in our experience is that there's this terrible, awful phrase that just shows up in conference rooms called, "Oh, this is the way we've always done it." Right? Which means that they're not using data, they're not willing to use data. If you can get people to become data-driven, you have a much greater chance of making your AI and machine learning work. The easiest way to help people understand that is to say, like, okay, what KPIs are you held accountable for? And people can't even answer that question an awful lot of the time, especially in enterprises. The example we tell people, or the rule is, if you're going to get a bonus for it, or you're going to get fired, it's a KPI. Everything else is just measured. The third step on the journey is qualitative research. To date, there is no artificial intelligence system that can dig around inside someone's head and explain to you why they made a choice they made. Why did you call in this insurance claim? Why did you abandon the shopping cart? Why did you make this purchase? Why did you spend less? Why did you spend more? So every company needs to have qualitative capabilities so that when you do get insights, you can go back and ask people, okay, why did you make those choices? And the fourth step is that process automation. The reason process automation is important is because when you start embarking with machine learning and AI, it will consume a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of people. You need to have that in surplus so that you can start in on these projects. Otherwise, it's just kind of tinkering around. Without optimizing the existing processes, you won't have room for growth. Now, at this point in the journey, depending on the company, depending on the role, you're going to take one of 2 forks in the road. One fork is your core competency as a company is going to be using artificial intelligence, in which case the next 3 steps are things that you will do. Or if you're just looking to make things run better, faster, cheaper at your company, you're going to look for a vendor, a service partner, a business partner of some kind to help you automate to bring AI to the non-core competency stuff. But that is a branch that you have to decide for yourselves. That 5th step, grab a seat. There's no ponchos in the front row, so it's totally safe. The next step is that 5th step, data science capabilities. You do need to have some data science capabilities, either in-house or in a partner, because without that, you can't validate that what someone's doing with machine learning is working. At the end of the day, all AI is a bunch of math. Right? It's stats and probability. At the end of the day, it's not magic, it's math. And so having people who can do the math and help you with the code and engineering is essential. The sixth step on the journey is advancing your process automation. Bringing these ideas and these processes and these algorithms you've developed and turning them into models that you then deploy and run and monitor. If you are one of the 5 companies on the planet that has managed to get this far, you'll be an AI-first company, and that is a company that is trying to solve its problems with using artificial intelligence first. Again, there's not many companies like this. You can name them all off the top of your head, right? Google, Amazon, IBM, Microsoft, Facebook. Right? That's about it. No one else is truly top to bottom an AI-first company yet. But this is where you want to go. Now, one of your pieces of homework from this meetup is, where is your company on this scale? Where are you in your capabilities? What gaps do you personally have in your career when you look at this? Say, okay, I need to learn more about that, or I've got that and I know exactly what it does. So that's the journey to AI. The second part we want to talk about before we dig into the technical stuff is where things will go wrong. So this is the average AI lifecycle, and you'll see a number of different versions of this throughout time because everyone has their own processes for doing it. But these are the general steps that people take to get to a production model deployed. Where things go wrong is in 4 different areas. Number 1, the area that goes the most wrong in all of machine learning is business requirements. You now have an enormous number of people in the C-suite who will walk up to the data science team and say, we need to put some AI in this thing. That's technology for technology's sake. That is useless. So make sure that you have a business problem that artificial intelligence is good at solving. If you would like to learn more about this, there is a phenomenal, totally free course from IBM called Design Thinking for AI. It's on the IBM website. It's ibm.com/design/thinking. Take it. It's fantastic for helping think about how to conceptualize an AI problem from a business requirements perspective. The second step is the analytics approach. If you don't have the business requirements, you can't make a choice about an analytics approach. Tools like Watson Studio and AutoAI can help with parts of this, but without the business requirements, they're just useless. The second place we go wrong in the data side of deployment is data requirements. This is the part that I screw up the most, right? I get excited about an idea. I want to try and solve a problem. I immediately jump in, start writing code, and then my CEO says, well, did you think about this piece of data? And I'm like, well, shit. I have to start over all again because I didn't do the data requirements. We had a customer this past week that we're working on a retention model to determine employee retention. And this customer thought they did everything right. They de-identified the data. Then we have all these characteristics. But one set of characteristics were things like allergies. And another set of characteristics was how often does this employee spend their time at home and where is that home latitude, longitude? Well, guess what? If you put those 2 things together, you now have a violation of the Health Information Portability and Accountability Act, right? Yeah. You have a HIPAA violation. So this company didn't, in the part of the data requirements, didn't think through how can this data be misused. So data requirements is the part where your projects will go the most wrong. Data collection, exploratory data analysis, this part is, I work mostly in marketing. This is the part that marketers skip as fast as possible because they don't like math. That's why I have a job. But it's essential. And then finally, of course, the data preparation. In modeling, there are a lot of people, and I apologize if this applies to you. It's not a personal attack. But there are a lot of people who have seen the salaries for data scientists and AI engineers and have gone out to Coursera or Udemy and done the 6-week crash course in machine learning, right? And now they got their certificate and they're super proud. And they get hired by a company, and the company starts them in on, okay, here's the data, we've done the analysis, let's get something into deployment. And they just go off of what they've read about or seen on Kaggle. This part, selecting a model, is really, really difficult. For those of you who've done machine learning, you know that it can take hours, days, months, weeks, depending on how badly what kind of data you're working with. And this is where some tools like AutoAI can start to help by helping you do things like all your hyperparameter optimization, figure out which buttons and levers do we need to tune, and then evaluating the model and deploying it. But again, this is where you'll waste a ton of time if you have inexperienced engineers and data scientists. You'll spend a tremendous amount of time. And if you do this wrong, you get to go all the way back to the beginning. Finally, where big companies especially go wrong is on deployment and tuning. What they do is they deploy a model, they put it in production, and then they assume that it's fine and forget about it, move on to the next project. Microsoft probably has the most publicly visible example of where this goes wrong. They, I think it was 2 years ago, released an AI chatbot on Twitter called Tay.
Yep.
And within 24 hours, all the users on Twitter turned into a racist porn bot.
Yep.
Nobody put any kind of guardrails in to say, let's keep the model from drifting, let's set acceptable parameters. And so deployment and tuning is so essential. If you think that machine learning is a path to the future, then you have to also acknowledge that things like bias in data are a massive, massive problem. Amazon got in a lot of trouble last year. They built an HR AI that stopped hiring women. Nice job, guys. And finally, just my CEO's pet peeve, nobody ever reviews projects at the end. So these are the things that are most likely to go wrong when you do your AI deployments. Take this framework, adapt it as you need to, but use it as a way to say, okay, how can we improve what we're doing on any kind of these projects? Now, next
Want help solving your company's data analytics and digital marketing problems? Visit trustinsights.ai today and let us know how we can help you.